I want to jump in before we go to those with our special guest speaker. He's originally from the British Army. I don't know if he was in intelligence or not. He's never told me. He's the founder of INSO. He's going to explain how that has to do with a different way of looking at projects, challenges, and innovation, and hopefully give us kind of a new framework on how to look at some of these challenges. Dan Wood, please join us on stage. Interestingly, I also know Dan. I was at his TED Talk just randomly. We all came here, no idea how. Dan, take us away. You got about 15 minutes to have fun.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, Roman, embracing vulnerability. Valerie, not waiting for perfection. Carla, underestimating the power of the small step. And to Blake's opening comment, how many good ideas that we've had that we've never actually turned to action. And that's the most relevant to what I would like to talk to you about today, which is prototyping and bringing ideas to life. Because that's what I absolutely love doing. I love talking about it. It's what INSO does. And I've kind of gone a bit off the rails in the spirit of prototyping and not looking for kind of polished things right now. This is still relevant and I'll weave it in. But I have been utterly inspired by the opening part of this event. So I just want to say thank you, because I think I go to so many events and I feel that just the collective intelligence and the ideas and the opportunities are completely missed in traditional events. Whether you sit back and watch a keynote, you maybe do a bit of schmoozing at the back, you eat a bit of food, you get a few free drinks, you share a few business cards, you talk about the weather. But that's such a wasted opportunity. And I'm so, so glad that we've jumped straight into it. And today we're going to maximize, and you could already tell from that brief few questions, in a stagnant, seated environment, the opportunities that exist for the type of people that are in this room. So I'm super excited to see what you're going to get out of it. So I've gone off piste already, but that's fine. So my name's Dan. I'm the founder of INSO, which stands for Innovation Solved. It's about solving innovation, rolling up our sleeves and doing it. It's a global consultancy and network. British ex-army, engineer, done a bit of time in finance. I like diversity. I'm sector agnostic, and I'm a specialist generalist, which is why I love working with NGOs and space companies and everyone. I'm a big believer that innovation is not just technology. I think too many people associate innovation with just the newest, shiniest toy in the shop window, which right now is AI. But I think innovation is a living, breathing system. And the engineer in me likes formulas. So I've built this thing that is kind of my definition of innovation in a one-sentence thing. I think innovation is a combination of leadership, people, technology, and context. And very quickly, I'll kind of talk about each of those four strands and how they come together. I think leaders set the environment and conditions for innovation and creativity to thrive, whether that's bringing people into incredibly inspiring venues, physical environments, but also the psychological safety is provided by the leadership. The example is provided by the leadership. The culture of risk and how they embrace risk is mirrored in the people by how the leaders define and hold themselves. Leading by example. There's so many ways of saying it. But it's leadership, and whether that's leading large teams, organizations, or just leading yourself to bring an idea to life. If you're not leading yourself correctly, everything else below that and all the other innovation and all the other things we're going to talk about will fail. The conditions need to be set, and that needs to be done by the people who have the power and the control to do that. Typically leaders, managers also kind of fit into that. The next part is people, because ideas rarely come to life by an individual in isolation rolling up their sleeves. It's normally groups of people coming together, collaborating, sharing ideas, making stuff happen, unlocking new ways of thinking. People play a huge role, if not the biggest role, in systemic innovation, I think. And then you can get into the deeper psychology of what motivates an individual to want to change. Some people just don't like innovation. Some people don't like change. They like stability. They like comfort. Some people love rocking the boat and trying new things and coming up with new ideas and new ways of working. And I think it requires both. It requires a mix of different types of people. It requires leadership, understanding what incentivizes and motivates your people to change. This is where change management theory starts to come into innovation as well. But when the people are aligned and they've got the right leadership above them, I think that's the best foundation for innovation to happen. Of course, then we layer in technology, because most modern ideas and innovations do tend to involve technology to a degree. I actually challenged technology in my definition and in my workshops is to say, sometimes I think we over rush to technical solutions. And I've actually found some incredibly elegant, neat solutions to quite complex problems achieved by stripping technology away. And it's often quite a good starting point. Even if you know the outcome is going to be tech related, strip it right back. How would we do this without technology? From a systems point of view, you also start working out what the disaster recovery and resilience in the system will be if you do that. But technology doesn't always have to play the whole part of the answer for whatever problem we're trying to solve. And in this case, it may not at all, but of course it may. Building a new app might solve the problem, but it tends to be the solution we all jump to. Oh, an app will solve that, or AI will solve that. Strip it back. Don't jump to that straight away is what I would encourage you to think about today. But of course, if technology is part of the solution, that's fine. Like, I'm not anti-tech. I love tech. I use AI every single day. I'm just saying I want to encourage you today, don't jump to it, strip it right back, and let's try and understand the problem without technology if there's an elegant solution without it. And the last part of the definition is context, which I think is so often overlooked. What I mean by context is that you could have the best leadership in place, you could have the best people who are incentivized and motivated to change, you can have an awesome technical solution that feeds into that already internal system that's just going to build this amazing prototype, MVP, whatever you want to call it, and prove traction of the idea. But something else in the world, some other powerful factor impacts the likelihood of that idea becoming successful. It could be bad timing. We've spoken a lot about timing today. It could be macro market conditions. It could be micro conditions that actually something's gone wrong with that team in their personal lives on the critical moment of that project. It doesn't mean that the idea was doomed or the project was doomed. It just meant that there was external factors beyond the obvious things that we get so consumed in that actually determine the likelihood of success of that idea. So again, just being aware of those and not writing ideas off because of something that, and then here we go, some of them could be within your control and some of them might not be. But I think just zooming out and looking at the peripheral things that surround an idea is also a very wise move. And I'd say the sweet spot for innovation is when all four of those things are aligned. So I have another slide that shows like a Venn diagram. I don't have it in this deck, but that sweet spot in the middle when all four strands, leadership, setting the environment and conditions, people incentivized and motivated to want to change and bring ideas to life, the technology that supports that in an efficient way, and also just the macro and micro contextual strands around that all aligned. That is the sweet spot for innovation, and hopefully we can identify some of those sweet spots today. So back to prototyping, because really this is what today is about. I think when people think about prototyping, they often think, again, straight to product, things, physical things, prototypes, version 1, 2, 3, MVP. I strip that right back as well. A well-designed question is in itself a prototype. We don't have lots of tools. We don't have lots of sticky notes and maybe a few laptops in the room. We could vibe code some ideas or something like that. But we don't have a great deal of tools today, and that's perfect. I didn't want that today. A well-designed question today is worth its weight in gold. These are the best prototypes that we can give to Shimon and his team, that he can note down, take away, and go and validate. And every single part of a prototype, every single aspect of that design, whether that's a question, whether that's a physical product, whether that's a digital product, should have a reason that it exists in the prototype. If it doesn't have a purpose, it's a vanity feature, and it's not lean. We need to get to the assumptions and the unknowns in the idea that we're presenting, build a really efficient prototype that allows us to validate those, and actually do that, and make it data-driven, and iterate off it, keep moving, the power of that all-important first step. And there's two techniques that I use when I'm helping people prototype ideas. And one of them is the Wizard of Oz rule, which kind of links to the perfection piece that we were talking about. And again, technical people hate this because they want to solve the problem. They want it all to work. They want the mechanics all wired up. They want perfection before they launch. There's a few incredible business cases and examples where actually a fantastic idea worked and was tested in a prototype, and actually the back end, all the stuff that was hidden, a bit like the Wizard of Oz himself, was not what you would expect it to be. So again, don't wait for perfection. Come up with efficient, lean designs that can do what it needs to do without worrying about it working perfectly. Sure, it might need to work perfectly if that idea is going to scale, but remember, we're not trying to do that from the start. We're taking that first step. What do we need to do? So again, don't wait for perfection. Think about the Wizard of Oz rule. And the other thing that I love about prototyping is that, again, one of the reasons we don't take ideas forward is because we need so many data points. I've got 800 clients, but that's not enough to validate traction. Can I swear or not? Bullshit. In the prototyping world, 5 well-selected people can give you enough information on your design, idea, prototype to allow you to iterate. They'll give you 80% of useful information, and anyone that tests it beyond that, if they're the right ICP or right target user, is going to be diminishing returns. 5 people, of which there are plenty of multiples of 5 in this room, can give you 5 useful data points to give you the confidence to iterate. You do that again and again, so it's 15 people for a round of prototype testing, and you've got 3 iterations on that. That product's pretty much going to, or that thing or that idea is pretty much going to look very close, I would say, to the final product, version 1 or whatever you want to call it. So those 2 techniques I'd like you to bear in mind today. A lot of people struggle, I think, to adopt a prototyper's or an experimenter's mindset. And so these 2 questions, again, I'd like you to just keep with you today as we start to take some of those ideas that pop into your head, some of those, I've got an amazing solution. I'd like you to strip that back and not jump to solutions. Let's spend time in that kind of, let's really analyze the problem. Let's really build that question that is a prototype in itself. And if you struggle to take an idea or a solution that you're jumping to and bring it right back to a prototype that validates an unknown or an assumption, these 2 ways of framing that idea are fantastic because they're kind of prototype questions in themselves. The first one is, what would this idea need to survive? And that's just stripping it right back, really to its basics. If this was true, this idea would work, which leads on to the second question, what would need to be true for this idea to work? And when you frame an idea that you've got in those 2 ways, it changes the way you think. And it changes what is also sometimes a negative statement when we talk about a problem to be solved, it's negative, into something more positive. There's another trick in the facilitation world, I don't know if anyone's facilitators in here, of taking a problem statement like, this is bad, to how might we make this less bad? It's a more inviting, embracing challenge to be solved, and it's something that we're going to work on with Shimon and the rest of the team on the event that he showed. So it'd be awesome to have you there and build on this momentum. But those 2 questions I find incredibly helpful for helping people build question prototypes. Just to wrap up, and again, as if by magic, and this wasn't aligned, but to Blake's point, it's not about having more ideas. There are so many ideas out there already. Innovation ultimately is about giving the right ones a fighting chance. And the right ones are defined by how we prototype them right at the start. So that's our job today. Hopefully I've given you some tools and practical ways of thinking that we can take some of this incredible energy in the room and we can actually help Shimon and the course. Yeah, I mean, that's everything I wanted to say. I'm buzzing for the second part of this event. So, and again, I'm happy to work the room. And if anyone gets stuck with how to prototype an idea or how to communicate that idea, I'm also able to help bring that to life. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.